Evan Hale had always loved the quiet corners of space. As a young engineer stationed on the remote research outpost Horizon 9, he spent most of his days monitoring the stars and maintaining the outpost's aging systems. The station was small, just a few modules tethered together in the cold darkness, and the isolation often bored him. Yet he found comfort in routine, the hum of the life support systems, the blinking lights of the control panels, and the endless stretch of stars outside the viewports. It was predictable, safe, and quiet. Everything changed the day he noticed the signal. At first it was barely noticeable, a tiny blip drifting slowly toward the station on his radar. Usually, small debris or discarded probes passed by, but this signal was different. It moved with intention, almost like it was alive. Evan leaned forward, tapping the console. "Strange," he muttered. Nothing registered on standard scans. He adjusted the sensors to get a closer look. The signal grew stronger, revealing the shape of a small pod, barely the size of a human transport shuttle. Something about its design was unfamiliar, sleek and otherworldly, with smooth curves and faint blue lights glowing along its hull. He hesitated. Protocol dictated he report any unidentified objects immediately, yet curiosity won over caution. Evan activated the docking bay's magnetic clamps and prepared for a manual retrieval. The pod hovered just beyond the station's perimeter, almost as if it was waiting for him. As he maneuvered the clamps, he noticed the faintest flicker of movement inside the pod. Someone, or something, was alive. When the airlock hissed open and Evan approached, he found a figure slumped in the pod's seat. She was unlike any human. Her skin was pale but shimmered faintly with a subtle iridescence, and her eyes were large, almond-shaped, and a vivid shade of green. She wore a form-fitting suit made of a material Evan had never seen before. Her hair, long and silver, drifted softly around her face in zero gravity. She was beautiful, and yet there was something delicate and fragile about her. He quickly checked her vital signs. Her heart was weak but steady, her breathing shallow. She was alive. That was all that mattered for now. Evan worked quickly, stabilizing her with medical injections and oxygen support. She stirred slightly, blinking her luminous eyes at him, confused and afraid. "Are you hurt?" he asked gently. Her lips moved, but the words were strange, almost musical, in a language he didn't understand. Then after a moment she spoke in broken English. "Help me, please." Evan's heart pounded. He rarely interacted with anyone beyond his own crew, and certainly never with a stranger, let alone an alien. Yet something about her tone, urgent and fearful, demanded trust. He carefully guided her into the outpost's medical bay, adjusting the support systems to suit her physiology. Her breathing gradually steadied. She watched him with curious, wary eyes, and he noticed something that made him pause. There was a small, intricate insignia on her suit, a symbol that glowed faintly when she moved. It was unlike any emblem he had seen in human space or official records. "My name is Celira," she whispered finally, her voice barely audible. "I escaped." Evan leaned closer, listening. "Escaped from what?" Celira's gaze flicked toward the viewport, where the stars stretched endlessly. Her voice trembled as she explained. "My people, my home, they are in danger. Some hunters want me. They want my access to the Forbidden Zone. I cannot let them." She paused, shivering. "I must hide until I can find someone who can help." Evan felt a mix of awe and concern. The Forbidden Zone was a name he had only heard in passing from old legends and classified reports, a region of space sealed for centuries, supposedly containing ancient technology too dangerous for any living species. Many had speculated it was a myth. Yet here was Celira, a living being, claiming her safety depended on it. Something inside him stirred, a mixture of curiosity and responsibility. I'll help, he said finally, surprising even himself. But we have to move fast. If they track you here, we won't have time to wait. Salira nodded, relief flooding her eyes. Thank you. They worked together quickly to prepare the small escape pod for immediate departure. Evan made adjustments to the life support system and the navigation controls, while Salira provided insight into the alien technology, her knowledge astounding him. She described sensors that could detect energy signatures from light years away, propulsion systems far beyond anything humans had engineered. Evan realized she was not just a princess, but also a highly trained engineer in her own right. Her species, the Athari, valued intelligence and skill above all, and Salira embodied both. As they prepared to leave the outpost, a warning alarm blared. Evan's heart sank. They found us, he said. Through the viewport, he could see streaks of energy moving at impossible speeds toward their position. The hunters had arrived. Evan reacted instinctively, taking the pod into space before the energy beams could reach them. Salira watched silently, her hands steady despite the panic flashing in her eyes. She guided him with calm, precise instructions, her understanding of the pod's systems far superior to his own. The chase was harrowing. Evan navigated through asteroid fields and debris clouds, weaving unpredictably to evade the pursuing ships. Each maneuver was risky, but his human ingenuity proved surprisingly effective. Salira's guidance combined with Evan's instinct allowed them to slip past the hunters, at least temporarily. As they escaped the immediate danger, Evan glanced at Salira. She was watching him with a faint smile, as if acknowledging something extraordinary about humans. "Why, help me?" she asked softly once they were in safer space. Evan shrugged, though his mind was racing. "I don't know. Maybe because no one deserves to be hunted just for who they are. Maybe because I like solving impossible problems." Salira's eyes sparkled. "Humans, they are clever. They think differently. Perhaps that is why the Forbidden Zone calls to you." Evan frowned, confused. "The Zone? You mean the one everyone says is just a legend?" She nodded. "It is real, and you may be the only one who can open its secrets." He wasn't sure what she meant, but a thrill ran through him. He had always dreamed of exploring uncharted regions, of discovering something no one else had seen. Now, it seemed, fate had handed him that chance. Not as part of a mission, but because he had helped someone in need. For hours they traveled together, navigating through a dark expanse where even the starlight seemed muted. Salira told him stories of her people, the Athari, who were peaceful but highly intelligent, with long histories of space exploration and knowledge preservation. They had always respected other species, she said, yet their civilization had enemies, powerful factions who sought to dominate rather than coexist. Evan listened, fascinated, realizing how fragile peace truly was in the wider galaxy. As they approached the edge of human-explored space, the signal from the Forbidden Zone became stronger. It pulsed rhythmically, almost as if calling to them. Salira's hands trembled slightly as she guided him closer. "The Zone waits for those it deems worthy," she said. "Many try, none succeed. Humans, maybe, are different." Evan felt a mix of excitement and fear. He knew entering the Zone was risky. Entire fleets had vanished there, leaving no trace, yet he couldn't turn back. Not now, not when he had already committed to helping Salira. Something deep within him, a spark of human curiosity and courage, pushed him forward. Suddenly, the pod sensors detected movement. The hunters had not given up. They were closing in again, faster than before, their ships glowing with dangerous energy. Evan's mind raced. He could attempt to outrun them, but the zone's gravity and strange anomalies made escape uncertain. He had to think differently. He glanced at Celira, who was calmly monitoring the ship's systems. "Trust me," she said simply. Her confidence was contagious. Evan nodded. Together, they executed a daring maneuver. Diving through a nearby asteroid belt, the hunters followed, but the narrow spaces and human improvisation forced them to slow, giving Evan and Celira just enough time to slip past undetected. For the first time in hours, Evan allowed himself to breathe. They were safe, for now. Celira turned to him, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Humans, maybe more than clever. Brave, yes. Perhaps you are the key." Evan shook his head with a small laugh, though his heart was still pounding. "Key or not, I'm just a guy trying to keep up with a princess." She smiled faintly, but her expression quickly grew serious again. "The zone will test you. Only those who endure and think differently can survive. You must be ready." Evan looked out at the dark expanse ahead, the stars stretching endlessly. The mysterious forbidden zone looming in the distance. He didn't know what awaited them, or if they would survive the journey. But for the first time in his life, he felt truly alive, a sense of purpose and excitement coursing through him. He had no choice but to follow, not just for Celira, but for the adventure that awaited and for the part of humanity within him that refused to back down. And so, with the hunters temporarily behind them, Evan Hale piloted the pod toward the Forbidden Zone, unaware that the choices he would make in the coming days would change not just his fate, but the fate of all species that dared to reach for the stars. The Forbidden Zone stretched before them like a dark ocean of stars, quiet but filled with unseen dangers. Evan Hale gripped the controls tightly as the pod moved deeper into the unknown. The space around them was strange. It shimmered with faint colors that seemed to shift and ripple as though the zone itself were alive. Celira sat beside him, her eyes scanning the pod's instruments with a calm precision that contrasted sharply with Evan's tense hands and pounding heart. "This is unlike anything I've ever seen," Evan said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Even the legends didn't describe it this way." Celira nodded. "Few have ever entered and returned. Those who try are not prepared. The zone, it tests everything, mind, heart, skill." Her words were heavy with meaning, and Evan could feel the weight of history pressing down on him. He had expected danger from the hunters, but the zone itself now felt like a living challenge. They moved carefully, avoiding the strange gravitational anomalies that shifted unpredictably around massive floating structures. These structures were immense, towers and bridges of metal and stone that hovered silently in space untouched by time. Evan's jaw dropped. "These aren't natural. Someone built them long ago." Celira's gaze softened. "Yes, the builders. They were the first to explore space. Their technology advanced beyond imagination. Many species tried to study it. Few succeeded." Evan's fingers hovered over the controls. He had always loved tinkering, understanding machines, and solving problems, but this was something else entirely. These were not machines that followed human logic. They were vast, intelligent, and ancient, yet surprisingly, some parts of the structures responded to the pod's systems. When Evan adjusted the pod's energy flow, lights along the nearest tower flickered and pulsed, almost as if it acknowledged their presence. Celira leaned closer. "The zone recognizes something in you. Humans are not like others. Builders were your ancestors. Long ago. That is why it responds to you." Evan frowned, confused. "My ancestors? You mean humans built this?" Celira nodded slowly. "Yes, Long before your records began, humans were builders. You were scattered and thought lost. The zone remembers. It calls to those who carry the builder spirit. Evan's mind raced. He had always felt a special connection to machines and technology, but to learn that humans had once been the greatest builders in the galaxy was overwhelming. A thrill ran through him, not fear, but pride and purpose. If the legends were true, he was not just exploring unknown space. He was following the legacy of his species. They pressed deeper into the zone, encountering strange phenomena at every turn. There were fields of floating crystals that emitted soft, harmonic tones, forming patterns that seemed to communicate in music rather than words. Evan realized that the crystals reacted to the pod's energy, shifting in tone as he adjusted the controls. "It's like the zone is alive," he whispered. Salira nodded. "It is. The builders created it. To test those who enter, those who survive are worthy." For hours, they navigated the labyrinth of structures and anomalies. Evan's engineering skills were put to the test constantly. He had to repair failing systems mid-flight, reroute energy through alien conduits, and interpret the strange symbols that lit up along their path. Salira assisted, offering insight when human logic fell short. Together, they made a remarkable team. But the zone was not passive. Suddenly, the pod trembled violently. Evan struggled to stabilize the controls as a massive gravitational field pulled them toward a colossal floating platform. Sparks flew from the pod's systems as the energy of the zone interfered with their engines. Salira's calm voice cut through the chaos. "Evan, align the energy matrix with the platform's resonance. Trust your instincts." Evan's mind raced. He had no formal training in alien technology, yet he remembered patterns from previous adjustments and combined them with his engineering intuition. Slowly, carefully, he shifted the energy flow. The trembling eased, and the pod hovered steadily above the platform. Evan exhaled, feeling a surge of accomplishment. "You did it," Salira said, her eyes wide with admiration. "Humans always find a way." Evan felt a strange warmth in his chest. He had expected fear, danger, and maybe even failure, but here he was, navigating the impossible with a princess's trust and his own ingenuity. The zone was challenging them, yes, but it seemed to respond to his determination and quick thinking. They explored the platform, discovering it to be part of a massive, abandoned city floating silently in space. Structures of unknown alloys stretched in every direction, decorated with glowing symbols and strange, moving patterns. Evan's curiosity overtook caution. He wandered carefully through the city, marveling at the craftsmanship. "How could anyone build something like this?" he asked, touching a smooth surface that pulsed faintly under his hand. Salira's voice was soft. "The builders. They understood energy, matter, and thought in ways no one else can. Humans, you carry a fragment of that knowledge. That is why the zone reacts to you." As they moved deeper, they noticed something extraordinary. The structures seemed to shift subtly in response to their presence. Doors opened where none had existed before, pathways aligned, and energy flows adjusted as if guiding them. Evan's mind reeled. The zone was not just a test. It was alive, aware, and intelligent. Their exploration, however, was interrupted by a familiar danger. On the sensors, a fleet of ships emerged from the zone's outer edge. The hunters had followed them. Evan's heart sank. He had hoped the zone's anomalies would keep them safe, but the enemy was relentless. "We're not going to outrun them this time," he said. Salira's eyes narrowed. "No, but you can outthink them. The zone, it teaches those who listen." She guided him to a narrow passage between two massive structures barely wide enough for the pod. "Follow the path, and do exactly as I say." Evan obeyed, weaving the pod through impossible angles and tight corridors. The hunters tried to follow, but the zone's shifting structures and strange energy fields caused their ships to falter. Evan adjusted the pod's energy flow, creating barriers and deflecting sensors. Slowly, one by one, the hunters' ships were forced to retreat, unable to navigate the alien terrain. When the danger passed, Evan let out a long breath. "I can't believe that worked," he said, still gripping the controls. Scifi smiled faintly. "You think differently. That is your strength. That is what the zone recognizes." They continued, moving toward what Scifi called the heart chamber, a central hub of builder technology. Along the way, Evan began to notice patterns in the structures, energy lines, geometric arrangements, and symbols that seemed to form a map. Using his human intuition and problem-solving skills, he traced the patterns, aligning the pod's energy systems with the zone's. Slowly, a path opened before them, guiding them closer to the heart chamber. As they approached, the zone's energy pulsed strongly. The air in the pod seemed to hum with anticipation. Scifi's hand hovered over the control panel. "Prepare yourself," she said. "The heart chamber. It tests all who enter. Only those who understand and endure can reach its core." Evan felt a mix of fear and excitement. He had faced impossible situations before, but nothing like this. He glanced at Scifi. She was calm, her expression serene yet determined. He realized then that trust was as important as skill. They were a team, and together they could face whatever the zone had prepared. The heart chamber emerged from the darkness, a massive structure of alien metal and energy floating like a crown in the void. Its surface pulsed with patterns of light, reacting to their presence. Evan felt a strange connection, as if the structure recognized him. "It's alive," he whispered. Scifi nodded. "It knows you are human. It knows you carry the builder spirit. Now, it will test you." Suddenly, the pod systems were flooded with data, symbols, energy flows, and strange instructions that Evan could barely comprehend. He had to think quickly, using intuition and logic together. He rerouted the energy, adjusted the controls, and synchronized with the chamber's patterns. For a tense moment, nothing happened. Then slowly, the pulsing lights aligned, and a pathway opened into the structure's core. Evan and Scifi exchanged a glance. "We made it," he said, disbelief and triumph in his voice. Scifi's eyes sparkled. "The zone. It accepted you. Few species, few individuals have ever reached this point. Humans, perhaps, are ready for what comes next." As they entered the chamber, Evan could feel the weight of history and legacy pressing down on him. This was more than exploration. This was discovery, understanding, and proof that humanity was capable of greatness beyond imagination. He had survived the zone's first trials, outsmarted relentless hunters, and navigated impossible challenges, and yet he knew this was only the beginning. Within the chamber, energy lines moved like living veins, forming pathways and symbols that no one had seen in millennia. Evan's heart raced as he realized the potential of what they had found. The zone was a repository of builder knowledge, a test of intelligence and courage, and a beacon for those who could understand it. Humans had not just entered. They were part of its story now. Scifi looked at him, her expression full of awe and respect. You are more than clever. You are human. That is power." Evan smiled, feeling pride and determination. "Then let's see what comes next." The heart chamber awaited them, full of mysteries and challenges that would test their minds, courage, and humanity in ways neither had imagined. And as the stars of the Forbidden Zone shimmered around them, Evan knew that the adventure had only just begun. The heart chamber was unlike anything Evan had ever imagined. As the pod glided into the massive structure, walls of glowing metal stretched endlessly in every direction. Strange symbols moved along the surfaces, pulsing in harmony with the energy that filled the chamber. The air, or whatever acted like air here, was heavy with an electric hum vibrating through the pod and into Evan's bones. He felt a thrill of excitement mixed with awe. This place was alive, not like a being, but like a mind, ancient, intelligent, and aware of them. Salira guided him carefully. The builders left this place to test those who follow. It is not just machines or walls, it is a mind. It will watch you, understand you, and measure you. Only those who endure and think differently can proceed. Evan swallowed hard. The words made sense, but the thought of being judged by a vast intelligence was intimidating. He had faced danger before, but never a consciousness so immense that it could anticipate his every move. He glanced at Salira. Her calm demeanor helped steady him, reminding him that he was not alone. As they advanced deeper, the pod's systems began interacting with the chamber in unexpected ways. Energy lines along the walls responded to their movements, aligning themselves to create a clear path forward. Evan adjusted the pod's output, mimicking the energy patterns as best he could. Slowly, the path became solid and illuminated. He could feel the chamber acknowledging his efforts. "This is incredible," Evan whispered. "It's like it understands me." Salira nodded. "It does. You carry the builder spirit even if you do not yet know it. Humans, you are capable of what no other species can do here." Evan felt a surge of pride. He had always believed humans could achieve great things, but to see proof here, in the heart of the Forbidden Zone, was beyond anything he had imagined. Yet even as excitement filled him, a warning flickered across the pod's sensors. Movement. The hunters had found them again. Their ships approached, careful and strategic this time. They had learned from their previous mistakes, and they moved with precision. Evan's heart sank. He had hoped the chamber would keep them safe, but now it seemed even the ancient builder's domain could not completely shield them from human and alien greed. Salira's eyes narrowed. "They follow. They seek to take the knowledge, the power. You must be ready, Evan. Use your mind, not just your strength." Evan nodded, already thinking. He adjusted the pod's energy output to match the chamber's pulsing lines. As he did, a strange effect occurred. The hunters' sensors began to fail. Their ships struggled to lock on, confused by the shifting energy fields. Evan realized that the chamber could be used defensively. It responded to his understanding, amplifying his efforts. Together, Evan and Salira guided the pod through the heart chamber, weaving between structures, activating energy patterns, and using the chamber itself to create barriers that slowed the hunters. It was a delicate balance of skill, observation, and intuition. One wrong move could trap them or alert the pursuers. Yet Evan found a rhythm. He watched, adapted, and anticipated. Every instinct he had as an engineer, as a human, allowed him to manipulate the alien systems in ways that even Salira admitted she had never tried. Hours passed, though time felt different here. The chamber seemed outside the normal flow of space and time. At one point, Evan glanced at Salira. She was silent, her eyes scanning the patterns around them, but he noticed a faint smile tugging at her lips. It was the first time he had seen her truly relaxed since they entered the zone. "You are remarkable," she said softly. "Humans, you surprise me. Always." Evan laughed lightly. "I guess we're full of surprises." Yet even as he spoke, he felt the chamber shifting again, responding to something deeper within him. Symbols flashed, forming patterns he instinctively understood. It was as if the builder's knowledge had been encoded in a way that only humans could perceive, a hidden link across millennia. Then they reached the core of the heart chamber, a vast platform surrounded by a glowing lattice of energy. In the center hovered a massive sphere of light, pulsing rhythmically. It was beautiful, yet intimidating, radiating immense power. Evan felt a strange resonance as he approached, a connection that went beyond understanding. The sphere seemed to respond to his presence, humming in harmony with his heartbeat. Salira turned to him. The Builders. They created this to be more than a repository of knowledge. It is a test of character, wisdom, and courage. You are meant to interact with it. Evan took a deep breath. He reached out toward the sphere, letting the energy flow through his hands. Images and patterns flooded his mind, star maps, ancient technologies, and glimpses of human history long forgotten. He realized that humans had once been builders, creating and preserving knowledge across the galaxy. The sphere was recognizing him as one of their descendants. Suddenly, the chamber's lights shifted, and the hunters' ships appeared at the outer perimeter, trying to breach the energy barriers. Evan's heart raced. He couldn't let them reach the core. He had to act, but destruction was not the answer. He remembered Salira's words, "Use your mind." He studied the patterns of the chamber carefully, noticing how energy flowed along certain lines and how the sphere reacted to adjustments. Slowly, he manipulated the output, creating traps and redirects that confined the hunters' ships without harming them. Energy fields corralled the intruders, holding them in place as the chamber's intelligence seemed to approve of his solution. Evan's cleverness and human ingenuity had neutralized the threat without violence, and he felt a thrill of triumph. Salira's eyes widened in admiration. You do not just survive, you protect. That is very human, brave, clever, and compassionate. That is why the Zone recognizes you. Evan smiled, though his mind was still racing. I guess humans have a way of thinking differently. We look for solutions, not just force. As the immediate danger passed, the chamber pulsed, and the sphere's light enveloped them. A voice, deep, resonant, and ancient, echoed in their minds. Human descendant, you have proven understanding, wisdom, and courage. The Builder's knowledge is yours to access. Should you choose to share it wisely, power without humility is not permitted. Evan felt awe and responsibility wash over him. This was more than discovery, it was a responsibility. He could command technology beyond imagination, but with great knowledge came great consequence. He looked at Salira. We can use this to help others, not for control, but for knowledge, for peace. Salira smiled, a rare warmth in her eyes. Yes, that is why you were called here. Humans, you are more than clever. You are ready to inherit the legacy of the Builders. Together, they explored the chamber, uncovering records of star systems, technologies, and histories long lost. Evan marveled at the intricacies, realizing that even the most advanced civilizations today had much to learn from this place. The Builders had not just created structures, they had created knowledge meant to guide intelligent beings toward cooperation and understanding. Hours turned into what felt like days as they navigated the heart chamber. Evan's understanding of Builder technology grew rapidly, his human intuition allowing him to solve puzzles that Salira had spent years studying. She watched him with admiration, realizing that humans were not just capable, they were exceptional. Suddenly, an alert appeared. The hunters had managed to breach one of the outer barriers. They were desperate and aggressive, but Evan had anticipated their tactics. Using a combination of Builder technology and human creativity, he created a containment field that neutralized their advance, holding them safely without causing harm. The hunters were trapped, unable to proceed, but unharmed, a perfect example of human ingenuity and ethics in action. Salira looked at him with respect and awe. You have done what few could. Not only did you survive, you preserved life, and you honored the Builder's legacy. Humans, You are truly remarkable." Evan felt a mix of pride and humility. "I didn't do it alone. You guided me in the chamber. It responded to both of us. We worked together." Salira nodded. "Yes, but your mind, your courage, your choices, they are uniquely human. That is why the zone recognizes you." As the heart chamber settled into a calm rhythm, the trapped hunters realized they could do nothing. Their aggression had failed, and they had no power against the combined intelligence of the chamber and Evan's ingenuity. It was a clear sign that the legacy of the builders, combined with human courage and cleverness, could overcome even the most determined adversaries. Evan took a deep breath and looked at Salira. "We've learned so much here. But this is just the beginning, isn't it?" Salira smiled, her expression serene yet full of determination. "Yes. The Builder's knowledge is vast, and the galaxy is waiting. But now, humans are part of that legacy. We can shape the future." Evan nodded. He felt a surge of hope and determination. For the first time, he truly understood the power of human ingenuity, bravery, and morality. The Forbidden Zone had tested him, challenged him, and now recognized him. Humans were not just survivors, they were creators, problem solvers, and protectors. They carried the legacy of builders and had the potential to inspire peace and knowledge across the stars. As they prepared to leave the heart chamber, Evan knew the challenges ahead would be greater. There would be new threats, new mysteries, and new responsibilities. But he also knew that humanity, clever, brave, and compassionate, was ready for whatever lay beyond. Together with Salira, he would explore, learn, and protect the legacy of the builders, proving once again that humans could rise to greatness in ways no one had imagined. Evan Hale and Salira floated in the calm of the heart chamber, surrounded by the glowing structures of the Forbidden Zone. After hours of navigating puzzles, outsmarting the hunters, and connecting with the builder's intelligence, a quiet moment had finally arrived. But both knew this was only a pause, not the end. The galaxy outside was still full of dangers, and the knowledge they now held could change everything. The sphere of energy in the chamber pulsed gently, as if sensing Evan's thoughts. He stepped closer, letting his hand hover over its surface. The builder's intelligence flowed through him, a network of patterns, histories, and knowledge spanning millennia. It was overwhelming, but he felt a calm assurance. He was not meant to dominate this power, but to guide it wisely. Humans had always been curious and resourceful, and now that resourcefulness was part of the builder's legacy. Salira approached quietly. "The hunters, they are still outside, trapped. They will not harm us, but they will try again if we leave unprepared. We must decide what to do with the zone, with the builder's knowledge." Evan thought carefully. Power could be misused easily. He remembered how clever he had to be just to protect themselves from the hunters, and how compassion had saved them both in the heart chamber. "We cannot keep this for ourselves," he said finally. "The knowledge should help all peaceful species. It should be shared, not controlled. That is how the builders intended it, and that is how we must act." Salira nodded slowly. Yes. The builders left the zone for those who can think beyond selfish desire. You understand that instinctively. Humans, your species has changed the way I see the galaxy." Together, they began to interact with the chamber's systems in a new way. Evan focused on creating pathways for the energy of the builders to extend beyond the heart chamber, opening channels that could be accessed by any intelligent species willing to approach peacefully. Salira assisted, translating the builders' patterns into a form that could be communicated to others. As they worked, the trapped hunters struggled against their containment, but the chamber's intelligence intervened subtly. Evan realized that the builders had created systems not just for knowledge, but for protection. Those who sought to take the zone for power alone could not succeed, but those who approached with curiosity, respect, and understanding could access its wisdom. Hours passed. Evan and Salira coordinated their efforts perfectly. The glowing structures shifted, realigned, and pulsed, creating a network that connected to distant star systems. Evan could see the potential. Civilizations across the galaxy could now tap into the Builder's archives, learning from history, technology, and strategy without fear of misuse. It was a vision of peace and collaboration, powered by knowledge and understanding. Salira paused, looking at Evan with admiration. "You have done more than survive. You have transformed the Forbidden Zone. Humans, your species, is capable of greatness I never imagined. You think differently, you act with courage, and you protect. That is why the zone recognizes you as one of its own." Evan felt a warm pride, but also a deep responsibility. "It is not just me. We worked together. And humanity, we still have much to learn. But maybe, if we continue to think wisely and act bravely, we can change the galaxy for the better." As they prepared to leave the chamber, the hunters finally gave up, their ships trapped and powerless. Salira activated the containment systems fully, ensuring they could not escape and threaten others again. Evan smiled faintly, thinking about the balance they had achieved. They had used intelligence and creativity rather than destruction, showing once more the uniqueness of human problem-solving. With the hunters secured, they turned toward the exit of the heart chamber. The glowing paths now extended outward, forming bridges into the greater galaxy. Any species approaching with respect and peaceful intent would now have access to the Builder's knowledge. Evan realized this was bigger than any personal achievement. It was a gift for countless civilizations, a legacy of cooperation and wisdom. Outside the heart chamber, the Forbidden Zone shimmered in the dark expanse of space. Stars gleamed softly through the translucent energy barriers, and strange floating structures reflected the light in mesmerizing patterns. Evan felt a sense of wonder, knowing that humanity was now connected to something far older and greater than itself. Salira floated beside him. "The galaxy will notice this. The Ithari and others. They will come. They will learn. And humans, you have shown that your species is ready to take part in a larger story." Evan nodded. "I hope so. I want humans to be remembered not just as survivors, but as thinkers, creators, and protectors. That is the future I want to help build." As they left the heart chamber, the Forbidden Zone seemed to acknowledge them one final time. Energy pulses traveled along the structures, forming patterns that Evan instinctively understood. It was a farewell and a blessing, a recognition of their courage, intelligence, and compassion. For the first time, Evan truly felt part of something larger than himself, part of a lineage of builders who had shaped the galaxy. Their journey back through the zone was quiet, but purposeful. The hunters remained contained, and the chamber's energy guided their path, ensuring safe passage. Evan marveled at the changes he could see. The structures seemed lighter, more open, almost alive in their new purpose. Knowledge was no longer trapped. It was accessible to those who deserved it. The Forbidden Zone, once feared as a dangerous and sealed area, had been transformed into a beacon of hope. As they approached human-controlled space again, Salira turned to Evan. "Your people, they will be amazed by what you have done. And I will tell the Council of the Ithari. They will honor you. You have shown that humans are capable of great wisdom, not just cleverness." Evan smiled. "I only did what I thought was right. But I am glad it can help others." Salira's eyes glimmered. "You have opened the path, and perhaps there will be more adventures. The galaxy is vast, and the Builder's legacy is not finished. You, humans, will play a part." As they entered the outer edge of known space, Evan felt a mixture of relief, pride, and excitement. He had survived impossible challenges, outsmarted persistent hunters, navigated the mysteries of an ancient civilization, and preserved the Builder's knowledge for all peaceful beings. And he had done it with a human's unique combination of curiosity, courage, and creativity. The stars outside seemed brighter than before, almost as if the galaxy itself recognized the significance of their actions. Evan glanced at Salira. "Do you think humans are ready for all this?" Salira smiled, her eyes warm. "More than ready. You think differently, you act bravely, and you carry the spirit of the Builders. That is why the Forbidden Zone chose you." Evan felt a deep sense of connection, not just to Salira or the Builders, but to humanity itself. They had survived, yes, but more importantly, they had proven that humans could rise to greatness, not through force, but through intelligence, compassion, and determination. The galaxy was vast and full of challenges, but Evan knew that humans were capable of meeting them. Together, they traveled back to the Athari homeworld, carrying the Builder's knowledge safely and responsibly. The Council of Salira's people welcomed them as heroes, not just for surviving the Forbidden Zone, but for transforming it into a place of wisdom, guidance, and shared knowledge. Evan realized that his actions had created bridges between species, civilizations, and generations. As celebrations unfolded, Evan looked at the stars again, thinking of the Forbidden Zone and the challenges they had overcome. He felt proud of humanity, proud of what humans could achieve when they used their minds and hearts wisely. He had entered the zone as a simple engineer seeking adventure, and he emerged as part of a legacy that stretched across time and space. Salira approached him, her expression thoughtful. "The galaxy will remember this, Evan, and your people. They will inspire others. You have proven that humans, you are capable of greatness." Evan nodded, feeling a calm determination settle within him. "Then let's make sure we continue to deserve it. There is much to learn and many worlds to help. We've only just begun." As they prepared for the next stage of their journey, Evan knew that the adventure was far from over. The Forbidden Zone had tested them, revealed humanity's potential, and created a new path for all intelligent species. And with courage, intelligence, and compassion, he knew humans could face whatever challenges the galaxy might present. For the first time, Evan felt that humanity was not just a small, struggling species in a vast universe. They were a force for creation, knowledge, and hope. And with that knowledge, the galaxy had changed forever. The stars stretched endlessly before them, filled with mysteries, opportunities, and adventures. And Evan Hale, human engineer and unexpected hero, was ready to meet them all, alongside Princess Salira, as part of a shared journey that would shape the future for generations to come.